This is Matt from Unravelry, and this is Partnership Unravelled, something new that I'm looking at for 2025. As the theme with everything that I do is around partnerships and Microsoft ecosystem, so not just the vendor, but also partner to partner, whether that's services to cloud solution provider, services to software vendor, MSPs, so on and so forth. It's going to be similar to the content that I've been producing on the blogs, obviously in a different format, or the LinkedIn updates. So yeah, looking forward to getting this kicked off. And I thought I'd start with something as I've seen over the last, 125 plus engagements at Microsoft, for example, doing the partnership role, or as a partner to various vendors prior to joining Microsoft, and what that looks like. And I guess a key success factor, or companies that are performing well working with a particular vendor, what is the thing that stands out, or what's the commonality between them? And it's time. That may sound really simplistic, so I think if I take it to an extreme, as in almost like the end state of what you're looking to get to kind of explain what I mean, and that is, if you think about a company that you know that's very successful at working with a partner, whether that's joint activities that you see doing, customer win case studies, examples, part of the year, and so on and so forth. If you go and have a look on their website in the people section, depending on how detailed that is, or go to LinkedIn, look them up and go to the people section, I'm fairly certain you're going to see somebody within the company that is aligned to partnerships or alliances. And that could be an alliances lead, that could be, in large organizations, you might even have an alliances person and then somebody dedicated to AWS, partner manager, AWS, Microsoft's alliances lead, partnership lead, practice lead, whatever, same for GCP, Snowflake, all of these companies. And what that is that they're doing, yes, they're dedicating a role to that, but again, this is an extreme example, they're dedicating time to invest in that relationship with that vendor and with that ecosystem, and that's what it needs. Now, if we pull that back, you might be a smaller company that's only running in Germany, you might be a bigger partner that's been dealing with AWS and is just starting to look at Microsoft, customers are asking for that, you say you're starting to do the work, and you don't have the resources or want to necessarily invest in a full-time head for that, for the Microsoft position straight away. And so somebody has to pick it up. It needs time dedicated to it. And again, as an example, one of the things that I have seen a lot is, because it's seen as a strategic thing and relationship building, the partnership role often ends up being with somebody senior within the business. Now, let's face it, the last 24 months have been rough. We've all seen on LinkedIn, there's a lot of people that have been getting open to work. When people are in those senior roles, trying to manage essentially the livelihood, not just their business, but the livelihood of the people that are working for them, that's going to be their priority, and that's going to be where their focus is. And they're not going to dedicate the time required to the partnership. So you look at where it's just been randomly allocated to people within the business, again, have they got the time to do that? So I would suggest it's probably not the most senior person or senior people within the business that own this, but give it to somebody who can allocate time to it, and also make sure that any concessions are made to their roles and responsibilities, that they will feel that they can allocate the time to that, and it's not necessarily going to impact their KPIs, because there are things that you need to manage within Partner Center, whether that's the accreditations, making sure you're making use of the benefits, enrolling in incentives as and when they come along, and keeping tracking of renewals for all of these things and making sure that that's up to date. But it also comes down to a personal side. I mean, if I'm sure everyone would love to, if you strip out everything that's involved in the, I guess, the administration side of it, a lot of it is interpersonal relationships, and it's that old adage of people buy from people. So it's time to form the relationships as and when those opportunities come along, whether that's with Microsoft or whether that's building relationships with a cloud solution provider, or building up a partnership with an ISV to go to market through the new multi-party private offers scheme. All of these things take time and investment. It's making sure that you've got somebody that's allocated to that. The other thing to consider is the time that it takes to actually go through this process as well. Now, there's the accreditation side of it, which, depending on where you are and what type of business you are, I won't get into the mechanics of it, but for certain types of partners, it's very difficult. I'll cover off some things on that on a different video. But there's certain mechanics, so you want to think of how quickly you're going to get through the accreditation process, and you should be able to come up with a timeline of that based on the tracking. And the other things that you want to do alongside that, or unlocking co-sale when you get to a certain stage. But even when you do that, you still need to build up a certain amount of momentum before you start to get engagement back from the vendor. So you need to think about the timelines and how this is going to grow, and you need to be realistic, because otherwise you're going to think you're coming up short before you necessarily have. The other thing with time as well is just understanding where you want to invest that time and what the priorities are. You're not going to be, to be fair, you might, but it's unlikely that if you just go into Partner Center and just tick off all of the requirements and activate everything, that you're going to be really successful as a Microsoft partner. There's more to it than that. And yes, the Microsoft marketing department or partner marketing department gives you all of these things and throws out terms like co-sale and what have you, and makes it sound really achievable. There are things that you're required to do that you might not necessarily get the rewards that immediately that you could infer from what you're reading on the screen. So it's understanding where to invest the time at which stage and what you're going to get out of it. So like I say, or like I said up top, it's a relatively simple concept, or to the point where hopefully it doesn't sound patronizing, but this is something that I've seen over and over again, and colleagues when I was at Microsoft commented on something similar as well. There's a definite theme to where companies are being successful within the Microsoft ecosystem and what that looks like. So that's something to consider. Hopefully it's not triggered somebody that's trying to do a million things and also manage a partnership at a senior level, or maybe it is, and that will hopefully get to, okay, how do we best manage this time, or where partnerships are getting to such a scale that recognizing that maybe you need to allocate more headcount, more time to the various different partnerships that you've got. So I'll leave that there to hopefully keep it relatively short. What I would say is welcome any feedback. If you've got any topics that you would like covered, then please do ask. Failing any requests, I'll possibly go back and have a look at the blog posts that I've done, and if any of those need to be updated or reiterated or approached in a different way, focusing on some things. If there's any general questions you've got for help, more than happy to do that. And likewise, obviously, for what I'm here for, if you recognise that you don't have time and you need somebody to come and support you with that, then obviously love to have a conversation there as well. I'm going to draw it there for this opening video, but thanks very much for watching, and hopefully catch you on another one. Goodbye.